Question regarding the tents and having tents, and I would just like Mr. Cohen to come up and kind of share the process in the past years with securing tents, and then where we are currently in securing a tent or tents for graduation, and then talk about some of the next steps in that process. You should be good.
Okay, I went back to the 14-15 school year, and obviously I've been here longer than that, and way back, we got tents, chairs from Orange County Rentals. They were up in Middletown at the time. Later on, we settled on Hudson Valley Tent Rentals. They're in Montgomery, and we used them up through and including the 1920 school year. Generally, in 20, we had issued 2 bids. Way back in March, when we put our bid out, and generally that's the rule of thumb, we were putting out our bids every March. Keep that in mind. And March of 20, everyone knows what happened, and the board did a reset, and we wound up with the drive-in graduation where we just got chairs. The years prior to that, the costs were generally in the mid $4,000 range. The chairs, we got away cheap, $450. Last year, Hudson Valley Tent was unable to produce a tent. I don't know where they all went, but they disappeared. We went to the Ranch Party Rentals. They're in Wappingers Falls. We got 2 large tents, and the total cost of the tents and chairs was $12,330. This year, I did get a phone call in January from Durant's. They were warning us that tents are in short supply. Again, I don't know where they're going, but...
Well, a lot of it is the COVID. We have a lot of outside classrooms, and that's part of the issue.
And this year, we moved our schedule up a month. Our first bid for tents went out on February 16th. It was in the Warwick Valley Dispatch that day. I gave it a long lead time, anticipating there would be trouble. Our bid opening was scheduled for April 6th. In between that time, the ranch called us up after submitting a bid. And they called us to withdraw their bid, which I gotta admit, I had never heard of that, submitting a bid and then withdrawing it. Quickly, we pivoted to get a second bid out. I believe I went to the April work session, and I said, I know it's not the board actually taking action, but we need to put a second bid out, which we did do on April 13th. We put a second bid out. At that point, we became aware that it was going to be a major struggle. We expanded our search further upstate down into New Jersey, and it was becoming a fruitless situation. We also became aware that in addition to just getting a tent, we now had to go through basically a process similar to a building project where you need an architecture review, you have to file an application with SED, and it's...
All tents have to be fire resistant, they have to be treated through lease process, temporary structure permits must be set to building code, architectural drawings, on-site inspections, and state ed final certification. So it's not, I know in the past we've often just put a tent up, but since COVID used so many tents around the state, they've been very strict about what tents look like and how they're put up. And there are clear expectations, so that was the challenge. And just adding to your comment, Mr. Cohen, following that Durant revoke of the bid, the very next day, we sent additional bids out to local companies as well as distant companies prior even to the going back out for bid requests. So that brings us all the way up to where we currently are in the work that the team has been working on. The intent has been to get tents. That's been the goal, to get the tents for everyone. But what we had been talking about as well is if we can't secure the tent, how do we move forward with graduation in a way that is creative and thoughtful and is special for kids? And that was what we had been talking about. Just Thursday, we actually were able, we got a rebid, and someone sent in that bid, and we met with our facilities, interim facilities director, talked about the expectations for timing, for the process for all of these things to happen. And on the back end, he's trying to move through that. But at the same time, we're thinking, how can we have plan B? So we looked at being outside on the lawn, and then also making sure that we have a rain experience if that's the case. Talking to colleagues around the county, similar issues are happening as far as availability of tents. There was, as I said, there was never an intent to not get a tent. If there's one available, we were renting it. That was absolutely our goal. Since that point, we have again met with our architects yesterday. We met again, Mr. Russo has done an amazing job of working and getting our architects. We talked last evening at 8. We worked through State Ed Connection. And right now they're working with this bid for tents to make sure that they do fit the leasing restrictions as well as the fire codes, so then they can move forward on architectural drawings, etc. So that's where we currently are with our tents. And the hope is that we have them. But we have to be able, as with anything, there has to be another plan, because we can't always secure things that aren't there. Questions from the board? So we will keep you posted. Ms. Moore will keep you posted on what's going on. I appreciate the committee, the senior parents, and all the work. I did speak to Sherry Conklin today, and talked about really clarifying in communication and making sure that it's clear moving forward. And I appreciate the efforts that everyone has put into this, and our fingers are crossed for a speedy process. If the tents are in and available, we're hoping by the 30th of May to have most everything in place. Okay?
As somebody in my previous occupation who has spent a lot of time dealing with event tents, I can tell you that where we are right now in the process is well, we can't guarantee it 100% because one, we're dealing with the state, so that should be enough to tell you something right there. But we're not 100%, but we are reasonably sure that yes, everything will go forward. Our architects are behind it. Nobody at SEP really wants to turn somebody down. So I think as long as everything looks the way it should, and it does, and Larry showed me a file this afternoon. 4 or 5 years ago, the tent proposition was probably 3 pages in a file folder. This thing's a ½ inch thick, and we're not done yet. So that's where we are, and people have been working really hard, and we're reasonably assured that yes, we will have a tent on graduation day. And as soon as we know that we've been able to sign off on it and gotten the permit with the stamp on it from Albany, everybody will know, okay?
Thank you.